Okay, these are the dust bunnies of your relationship. It is in that back corner. It is underneath the bookshelf. Where do you have dust bunnies, my friend? You're listening to the Better Relationships After Baby podcast, where I believe things can actually be better than ever after having kids. But it takes intentional conversation, personal growth, and community to get there. I'm Chelsea Skaggs, life and relationship coach, fellow mom and wife, and lover of taboo topics. I'm here to give you insight, practical tools, and conversations to help your relationships survive and thrive through the big changes of parenthood. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, friends. I feel so lucky to be on this side of the microphone and that you are choosing to spend some of your time with me. I just feel so lucky. So thanks. I earlier this week was cleaning out my junk drawer, and here's what's unfair. I'm going to tell you, most of the shit that ends up in our junk drawer is not mine, and yet it's me that is going to lose her mind if it doesn't get decluttered every once in a while. And we're talking about spring cleaning, and we've just been opening our windows and finally getting to some baseboards around here. And the concept of spring cleaning made me think about our relationships, the emotional clutter that builds up over time. So this week, I thought we could talk about spring cleaning, the invisible messes in your life, those little patterns that maybe you've said for months or years that you're going to break, the roles that maybe you've fallen into, but it doesn't feel good for you. It's not working for you, and it's causing some stress. The resentments that build up over time and silently chip away at your connection. And if you're nodding along, you're going to love the free spring cleaning for your relationship checklist that I have in the show notes. So make sure that you go there at some point before or after listening, or during, if you're not driving, of course. And we'll talk about how you can get some spring cleaning in your relationship. But before we dive in, I want to name something that is just in the forefront of my mind right now. We are living in a tense political and cultural moment. And there are attacks on things that matter to me, that I think if you're here in this community probably matter to you too. Things like reproductive rights and this rising gross anti-woman rhetoric and regressive gender norms trying to make a comeback. And so it is no surprise if you as a woman are feeling overburdened, undervalued, and fed up. I am coaching women every day who are quietly, or maybe not so quietly, done with being the emotional manager, the schedule keeper, the default parent, the fixer in their homes, especially when those roles weren't consciously chosen. So if you're feeling the weight of it, you're not alone. And that is why episodes like this matter, because we are not just spring cleaning our homes for looks and ease. We are cleaning out the hidden junk that keeps us from feeling like true teammates in our partnership. So let's get into those blocks, y'all. Block number 1 is the unspoken expectations. Okay, these are the dust bunnies of your relationship. It is in that back corner. It is underneath the bookshelf. Where do you have dust bunnies, my friend? Small, subtle, easy to ignore, easy to walk by, easy to just kind of like blow. into a place where it can't be seen, but they pile up. Maybe you expected your partner to jump in more than they did when you had a baby. And maybe you notice that you're drowning in the mental load. Or maybe nobody's initiating a date night. When these things stay in your head and it doesn't come out of your mouth, it builds resentment. So if you're asking yourself if this block is present in your life, here's a question for you. And you can respond out loud if you're alone, or if you don't mind the other people around you hearing, you can also leave your responses in the comments, or like literally send me a DM. I like live for I live for my kids, my husband, my immediate family, but I also, on a less serious note, live for your responses. So I'm going to be giving you some prompts today, and you can come back and engage. This is the first one. What is something you wish your partner just knew? If they just knew, but you've never said it out loud. If they just knew that when they get fired up, it makes me feel small and insecure. If they just knew that I feel like they expect me to be their father and I'm not that same person. I'm not their dad. I'm a different man. If they just knew that I am constantly feeling self-conscious in my clothes, and so I really need to be hyped up a little bit more. What is it? What is it for you that you wish your partner just knew, but you've never said out loud? Okay. The spoiler alert, that's obviously not news, is that they're not mind readers, no matter how long you've been together. And if you want some help, then grab that spring cleaning checklist to give you some easy ways to walk through it and explore more questions like this so that you can be reigniting that connection. All right, let's get to block number 2. We kind of hit on this. This is the outdated roles and the outdated scripts. So this is not true for most of the people that I work with. But there's definitely still a prototype out there where maybe this man comes home and thinks that his role is to work long hours and then crash on the couch. And your role is to juggle kids and housework and keep everyone alive. But if that division of labor was never truly agreed upon, it's not teamwork, it's autopilot. It's probably the conditioning from what you and your partner saw growing up. Maybe it's the way that your friends are living. Maybe you haven't seen it another way. But there's always the opportunity to redefine these roles and scripts and division of labor. And it's not fair to you to just live in autopilot forever. We are seeing a lot of women challenge this dynamic right now. Hallelujah, for a good reason. Okay, the world is on fire. Our values are evolving, but many couples are still living by that like passed down script written by their parents or grandparents. And that is going to be a disconnect if that's not working for you. It has to work for both of you. So ask yourself, are the roles we're in right now working for both of us? And I don't recommend, honestly, saying, okay, this isn't working, and then demanding this has to change, this has to change, this has to change, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing this, right? Like, I recommend joining hands, joining forces, especially like I hope for you, if you are a woman listening to this podcast, or if you are a man listening to this podcast, I hope that the character of masculinity in your home is one that is gentle and curious and open to healing and growth in inner work. And if so, let's hold on to that relationship and let's think about how you can be a team challenging the dynamics together and rebuilding something that you love and enjoy and you get to create yourselves. Whew. That makes me think of doing value work. I have another episode on values and would highly recommend that episode if that like kind of concept is on point for you. And also like it is scary hard work to try to go off of autopilot and redefine some things. So that's also a great time to reach out to me for a one-on-one, maybe a single session, maybe a multi-session. But I would love to help you redefine what successful partnership is for you and your partner, because I'm like having happy heart palpitations because I love seeing and hearing people get to know who they are and what they value together and how they want to build their life and their family. Like that's how we rebel against the system, is we don't just take what's fed to us. We look at what's going to work for us and our family. And maybe we never get it perfect, but we keep working towards that and not feeling the resentment and the discouragement in ourselves and the eventual regret of not building life in a way that works for us. Okay. I could get really, really passionate about that, obviously. And I will if you want to work together on it. Block number 3 is the lingering bitterness. This is very synonymous, very similar to the feeling of resentment. It's not the blow-ups, right, that disconnect most couples. It's those small, unresolved, paper-cut size offenses that never heal. Maybe they keep getting agitated, or maybe they're just like one on top of the other, or maybe you are just like, well, it's just a tiny little paper cut, so I'm never going to put a Band-Aid on it, and then it just doesn't heal. This is often what we do with that lingering bitterness. The way you got dismissed, the time you needed support and you got sarcasm instead, the little thing they promised to change, but they never did. So if you are still talking to your friends about something your partner should have known better about, it's not cleaned up yet, right? This is a great test to like think about. I love decompressing and, you know, getting things off my chest with my friends, but also you start to notice sometimes in groups of people that there's that person maybe whose partner you can just tell like they're continually disappointed in their partner and they're kind of trying to make up for that sometimes, or, you know, get shy and timid about it. But that lingering bitterness is a silent killer. So if you're talking about it, you're bringing it up, you're making excuses, you probably just need to hit it a little more head on, my friend. So maybe you say like, hey, there's something that I have not fully closed the loop on. Can we talk about that? You know, it's not an accusation. It's not, you shouldn't just have to let things go, even if time has passed. You get to engage the conversation as things come up for you and you're healing and you're growing. But also, we don't want to take our partner back to that place and rehash something that is painful and reopen the accusations. And so you get to enter it with some teamwork. There's something we never fully closed the loop on, or I never found some peace and resolution about. Can we talk about that? Can we get back to that, with the idea that you're not going back to, you know, slaughter one another in a rerun of a bad event. You are going into it to find that peace and resolution so that there is connection. There are closed loops of connection around your relationship and not these gaping holes where energy goes and you lose that benefit in between the two of you. Block number 4 is neglected friendship. So maybe you're getting through the weeks, you're checking the boxes, you're surviving, but are you laughing? Are you playing? Are you touching without it being a chore or a signal? Too many couples become roommates or coworkers. That's the energy they share. And there's no shame in that. Been there, parenting is no joke, but you didn't fall in love because you were good at Google calendaring together, okay? So once you recognize, and it may be more than once in your parenting journey and relationship, but when you're like, oh, look, we're in that roommate phase again. Here we are. I'm not going to judge us, but I'm not going to stay here. Let's throw in some more playfulness. Let me think about how we can flirt a little more. Everything feels so serious, and there is a lot that is very serious in our world, and it can make you feel deflated and like you could just literally crumble. And yet, I think our only shot, there's many pieces to this, but part of our only shot of survival is having the playfulness, the connection, having some laugh, having some things that aren't so heavy. So if you would not describe your relationship right now as fun or flirty, you're not broken, but you might be due for some reconnection. And if that's awkward for you to start reconnecting, okay, you're not the only one, and I'm happy to support you. Whether that is you grabbing this free checklist, the spring cleaning checklist that's in the show notes, so that you can have really no pressure ways to connect, to reconnect, with some of the guesswork taken out of it, because I did that for you, or whether you want to dig into understanding yourself and your partner and what you want out of life in a more personal way, which is available through coaching with me. And block number 5 is the unspoken mental load. I come back to this topic often because it is so prevalent in our generation specifically, I think. I do not envy everything about the perception I have in my head of being a mother in like the 60s and 70s, maybe 50s. Even like the 80s, my goodness, and 90s. Okay. Maybe I do think that every other decade feels a little easier than what we've been handed right now. But what I was trying to say is that while I don't envy, past generations completely, I do think that we are a generation that, because of all of the advancements, because of all of the opportunities, things just keep piling up and up for us to do and to have on our plates, with very little support, less support for most people than was likely available to their mothers or grandmothers. This is the heaviest and most invisible. You're carrying the meal plans, the permission slips, the birthday parties, the doctor appointments, the sibling dynamics, the medication, and maybe it feels like your partner doesn't even see it. And over time, that feels maddening. So mental load doesn't just strain your energy, it erodes your respect and your attraction towards your partner. Like, you're left with no capacity to feel respect and attraction towards your partner if you are feeling, or the reality is that you are carrying the massive bulk of the mental load. And this is especially hard to navigate when larger cultural systems keep telling women to just be grateful or stop nagging. You don't ask to share the load because you're weak. You ask because you want a strong partnership. It is probably no surprise that this is a key topic in every couple that I work with. When I'm working with people who are pregnant and expecting, like, here's a little shout out to tell your pregnant and expecting friends to do some relationship foundation work with me before they have the baby. That could be the greatest thing you do for them to help them set up for success. But whether I'm working with someone before, after, 5 years down the road, the mental load is one of the biggest dividers of couples. And feeling like your partner's parent is not sexy. And this is multifaceted. And this is why I have a really specific way that I talk to people about the personality styles they bring into this, the expectations that formed their idea of normal when it comes to parenting, their capacity, their values, to what level of perfection do they need something to be done. This is not always one partner is right and one partner is wrong. It is layered and it is messy. And it's one of my favorite messes to like dive into with my clients because there's so much we can understand and so many ways this can get better with that understanding. All right. So we're talking this week about spring cleaning. I'm a little late on the spring, I guess, but it's not too late. At least here in Ohio, the weather is finally, well, it's storming right now, but getting, consistently warm and airy and fresh and feels so good. But let's also not forget about the emotional clutter. Clearing the emotional clutter is not a one-time thing. But when you do that deep clean, especially together, it opens up space in you for intimacy, for teamwork, for breathing room. And then guess what? You like keep enjoying the benefits of that. So if any part of today's episode made you nod or laugh or feel convicted in the best way, let me know about it. I want to hear how you're feeling from this episode. And I want to challenge you to choose one, just one. Please don't try to master all 5 of these at once if they all 5 apply to you, because that is setting yourself up for failure, my friend. Choose one invisible block that you can focus on this week. And don't forget, I have that spring cleaning checklist in the show notes. It is simple, it's free, and it'll guide you through what you can start tackling first. So I am rooting for you. I believe in you. And I can't wait to hear how this episode lands for those of you listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you take a minute to help spread the word. As a small business owner, shares and reviews go a long way. So share this episode with a friend, share it on your social media, and please leave a review if you haven't done so. This helps these messages get to more mamas, and you guys, that's how we change the world.